Take a breath. Welcome to Space to Exhale, the podcast, weekly inspiration for self-care and soft living. I am your host, Lisa Hurley. I'm a 5-time Anthem Award winner, second-generation Reiki master, and community builder, and I'm the author of the book, Space to Exhale. Through healing modalities like breathwork, affirmations, and meditations, I'll guide you on a life-changing journey to help you know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, and create much-needed space to exhale. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Space to Exhale, the podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hurley, and I'm here to remind us all to slow down, take a breath, say no to hustle culture, and yes to a life of ease. Today's guest is Dr. Yvette Ankrah. And you can see her, those of you who are with us live, you can see her here on stage. And let me just read her bio so you all know who is in the room with us, because she is an absolute powerhouse. So Dr. Yvette Ankrah MBE is a transformational coach, consultant, therapist, and trainer, working with senior leaders and organizations operating in complex, high-stakes environments. As founder of Leading with Clarity, she helps leaders think clearly, decide well, and lead sustainably, particularly where responsibility is high and pressure is persistent. With over 25 years of business experience, she has designed and delivered leadership programs for senior executives, facilitated executive away days, and held board-level positions across the NHS, voluntary, and education sectors. Most recently, she spoke at the UN Geneva Summit on Inclusive Global Leadership. She holds a PhD in sociology and is an accredited NLP master coach, performance coach, and EFT practitioner. And if y'all think that is all, there's more. There's more, y'all. She received a Microsoft O2, I think that's how you say it, Microsoft O2 Business Award in 2013, was shortlisted for Best Coach at the Best Businesswoman Awards in 2015, and was awarded an MBE in 2017 for her work with women in business. So, Dr. Yvette Ankrah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's lovely to be here.
Oh my goodness. I am so happy to have you here and excited for this conversation because, as you know, we're talking about leading without burnout. Mm-hmm. Before we get into that, I want two things.
Okay.
One is I want to say, we mentioned this a little bit before the show, 25 years of business experience. When I read that, I was like, 25 years of business experience where? Because this gorgeous woman looks like 30 years old to me. So I'm like, did she start in kindergarten? Like, what is going on here? And so I just want to say, shout out to, your parents, the ancestors, and the gods of Black No Crack, right?
Yep.
Amazing. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And as you know, we start every show by taking a breath. It's called Space to Exhale. So we do that to ground ourselves and our audience before we get into our conversation. So right now, we're going to take a moment to exhale. So just close your eyes. And everybody who's watching and listening, please absolutely join us if you want to. Close your eyes. Relax your shoulders a bit. Move your head gently from side to side. Place your hands over your heart. And now slowly inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And again, inhale and exhale. And one last time, inhale and exhale. Okay, and now we can open our eyes again. And every show we share an affirmation to ground ourselves in what we're going to be talking about. And so today's affirmation is, I am leading with clarity, calm, and care. So folks, as we go through this conversation, right, Dr. Ankrah,
Yes.
right? Just think about that. I am leading with clarity, calm, and care. Before we get fully, we're about to start the interview. Before we get fully in, I should have asked you this beforehand. How do you prefer to be addressed? What should I call it?
Yvette, it's totally fine.
Yvette, totally fine. Okay, well, good. All right. So Yvette, when you do a lot of work around leadership, that is your wheelhouse and your focus. What does leadership mean to you beyond titles, authority, being in charge, and being the person with all the answers? What else is there to leadership in your view?
I think in my view, it's definitely about the capacity and leading with capacity. And I always start with self-leadership. So we can't lead others until we start with ourselves. So that's where it begins. And it also starts with being calm, you know? So we often kind of think of all the strategies and other kinds of things we need to do and do. But who do we need to be?
Yes.
You know?
We need to be.
So that's kind of where it starts from. It's about being the calm in the storm, being the place that may not always have the answers, but can hold that space for others. And that's, again, starts with being able to do that for yourself.
Right. And so, I mean, your 25 years of working in the leadership space, has your view and understanding of your view and understanding of leadership, has that changed since you started 25 years ago? Like, what was it like when you started, and what is it like now for you?
Definitely. And I would say that the kind of change is around how we lead. So before, it's kind of, we have to have the answers, I have to know it all, and I have to be the space of everything, and I've got to also take everything with the fallout. But actually now it's about being able to say, actually, I might not have the answers, right? And being able to still show up even though you don't know it all. And also that space for vulnerability and being open. And I think that is allowed a bit more now. I mean, I remember just, when I first started like my career, I worked in an organization where we weren't allowed to use the word stress.
What?
Right? Yeah.
That was a thing?
It was a thing, right? So you couldn't talk about it. So you couldn't even use that word. So you didn't have language to describe what was going on for you, right? So
was this just random question? I'm sorry. I'm glitching right now. Was this what general set? Definitely don't, and you would.
It was an educational setting. I'll just
okay. I was like, that's got to be nonprofit.
Right. It was an educational. It was nonprofit, but it was an educational setting, and it wasn't something we were allowed to talk about. Right. So again, fast forward all this time, we have more awareness around the importance of mental health, the importance of well-being, the importance of understanding, what goes on with our nervous systems. So that the change has been around some of that. And also, I will say, we can have as much strategy as you like, but if your nervous system isn't right, it doesn't matter. You can't execute. You can't show up.
Yeah, that is so true. I actually did a post in my newsletter, The Gentle Breath, this past Sunday, and I was talking about, leaders who, I mean, I was speaking in the vernacular, like run around like a chicken with no head, and feeling as if they're accomplishing something, whereas they probably are not, and stressing not only themselves, but everybody else around them. It is
exactly.
Yeah, it's so dysfunctional. This is not to blame anyone. Probably the likelihood is we have been that person as well at some point, some people more so than others. So it's definitely not casting blame, but it's not a way that you can sustainably uh, lead and live
No,
healthily for a long time.
you can't. And, with so much going on across the globe and across the world, there's so many stresses.
Mhm.
You've got the stresses that would come with any kind of career anyway. And now we have increased things that we have to respond to and react to. And a lot of the people I speak to, they are in that space. So, very much that calm is needed now more than ever.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I do what I do, because I every time I speak to, just whether it is people in my circle or sort of in the on social media, right? These parasocial relationships. So many people are saying how burned out they are, how stressed they are, how overwhelmed they feel, and this is honestly regardless of race, but more so with people who look like you and me, right? And I'm always about solutions. And so my thing is, what can I do
Yeah.
to help? And I'm sure that was part of why you got into what you do as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. And, we're finding at the moment, so, I know you said before you like data. I love a bit of data. So, just looking here, 91% of UK adults experienced high or extreme pressure or stress in the past year, right? 91%.
91.
So, we're getting to a point where certain behaviors or feelings are becoming the norm rather than the exception. And when you start looking at women again, it's 96% of women experiencing that extreme pressure or stress. And this is the UK. And I'm sure if you look across the world, these stats are probably not dissimilar.
Yeah,
So
of course.
really important for us to start addressing those things. And I always see it as a two-pronged approach. And one of the reasons that Leading with Clarity exists is because it seeks to find ways to help organizations create environments that allow people to thrive. Because, we can do all this stuff and be resilient, right? But if you're back in an environment that is not conducive, that doesn't support your health and doesn't support your well-being. So it's important that organizations understand how to support and protect their greatest asset, which is their people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned being resilient, and it is a necessary life skill, right? One should be able to recover, bounce back, and so on. But
Yes.
one shouldn't, right? But one should not constantly be in an environment where resilience is required daily.
Exactly.
That's the unhealthy part.
That's very much so. And one of the things that, I've taken a sort of shift in the business recently around these conversations is because, if you spend your time almost triaging everybody, you're patching them up. And I feel like, you get the boxer in the corner, right? You're wiping their brow, you get them to spit out the water and like, get back in there.
Oh my gosh, great analogy, because I can see it. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what it felt like. I'm like, I don't want to be patching people up. I don't want to be carrying people out. That is not what I'm here to do. So can we go upstream and help the people that are making those decisions look at how they make decisions, how their work impacts the people that are trying to carry it out?
Yeah.
And start to have different conversations. So we're not having this same kind of cycle. I've experienced burnout. I've been there, right? I don't want to have another generation going through this.
Yes. And well, listen, you lay this up for me, because I literally, next question for you is, what is your, tell us, if you don't mind sharing, about your burnout story, because as soon as I saw that you focused on burnout, I'm like, oh, she must have experienced this, because that's one of the reasons why I focus on it, because it feels horrendous when you're going through it and you don't wish it even on your worst enemy. So what happened? What do you care to share that happened to you in terms of burnout?
So I would say I'm the kind of person that would burn the candle both ends and in the middle, right? And again, very much somebody who, if I wasn't doing, I didn't exist without productivity.
Yes.
So bought into all of those narratives and, sleep when you're dead kind of vibe, right? So,
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, same. Yeah.
yeah, right. So here I am working in a corporate environment, working 12-hour days as my norm. Perfectly normal, doing all of that. And realizing that I hadn't slept in 2 days. I had just not switched off. I could not go to sleep. I couldn't switch off. And my body had been giving me a few signs and whispers and then shouts. And that was the first burnout. I said the first burnout because I'm kind of hard-headed, right?
You're an overachiever and everything.
Yeah, right. So, I kind of had to. So that was the first bit. But I also already had signs before then. So I had IBS. I had physical symptoms, and I was kind of thinking, okay, right. So you get through the week, you collapse the weekend, you go again, right? Or you go on a holiday, you come back. That's it. That's great. You go again. But that is not the rest you need, right? So fast forward now, bringing all of this personality type, all of these behaviors, these habits, you can see why an NLP person now, right? Bring that into launching my own business with a toddler and a PhD.
Ooh. How? So, it's only. Why do I feel like I know you? Right? Right? Because it's only people that have a certain, I would say, both background and personality type that think that that is perfectly normal and rational.
Yeah.
It's not even about being ambitious. Like we were talking about this just before the show started. I'm like, why am I doing this weekly? Because it's a lot. But you don't think of it as ambitious because it's just your norm, right?
It's just your norm. So, bringing all that in, and I started to get ill. I started to get very ill, and I ended up being diagnosed with a condition called fibromyalgia, which your listeners may be familiar with.
Yes.
And I was chronically ill for 6 years, and I wasn't able to do a lot of things that I would consider normal, like play with my child for long periods of time, walk for long periods of time. But I was still running a business, finishing the PhD, raising a child, running a network, building a consultancy. Yeah. So, so what happened in that journey was me having to learn to listen to my body and stop fighting the fibro, because me and the fibro we were enemies, because I'm like, you're not going to be the boss of me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, right? And keep going, right? So even with all of this, I still wasn't listening. And then I got to this point where I was like, okay, fibro, you're going to be my self-care partner. And what you're going to do is, when I'm doing a bit too much, you're going to tell me to slow down.
Right. You're going to ping me.
You're going to ping me. You don't need to shout anymore. You don't need to call me names. You don't need to be harsh. There was a certain tone that it had. And I felt that. And then in the end, through some other work I was doing, I said, I don't need you anymore. And I haven't been able.
Okay, well, what was this work? Was this EFT, NLP? What was this?
No, this was NLP. This was NLP and timeline work.
Okay, we're gonna get to that because I'm intrigued. Yes. When I saw that you did that, I was like, oh.
But that was, everyone has these different relationships with it. But in terms of, I had to learn to sort of focus and read again, because I wasn't able to concentrate. I would have really bad brain fog, but I was still, for me, I was not at my best, but I was still functioning at a very high level, and in chronic pain.
Bless you. Yeah.
And that journey, and even when I did my NLP training, which I'm sure will come to at some point, when I did the NLP training, I didn't even do it for me. I did it for my clients, because I was doing more business coaching. And I'm writing these strategies for these clients, and they're not implementing what's going on. There's a block here. So I wanted to be able to help them
Other
release and
people.
remove. Yeah, other people, not me, other people. Right? So
Listen,
my
that's
focus
why that is why, there's this thing on social media, which I'm not sure how I feel about it, where they're like, if your child is ever in trouble, find a Black woman, and she'll make sure that the child or whatever is okay.
yeah.
And on the one hand, yes, on the other hand, it's like,
Mm.
but
But there is,
who takes care of
yeah.
us? Who takes care of us?
And that's the whole thing. So my own journey was about learning how I
Mhm,
needed to be, how I needed to show up for myself,
mhm,
what that looks like, trusting myself again, reconnecting with my body.
mhm.
And now I don't need shouting. I get a little whisper, it's like, yeah, cool, I'm sitting down. Rest is not the reward. Rest is part built into the process.
It is
And
built into the process. Yes.
it's kind of there, and you started with breath work. I spent last night having a one-to-one breath work session with a healer that I know. That's what I did last night, and a sound bath. That was my evening yesterday, to
Yes.
kind of recalibrate and reconnect with myself as I'm
Mhm,
moving to my birthday week and moving to that space. Kind of, it was allowing me to kind of release and let go of other stuff I'm carrying, and being very mindful of that within myself as well. And
mhm.
what I do for myself is what I do for my clients. But I had to go on that journey. I don't necessarily believe other people need to do that journey, which is why I talk about it, right? It's unnecessary. But,
It is.
when I see it, when I hear it, it's like, okay, let me sit you down and let's have this conversation. Because you
So,
don't want to go there.
right, right. So you have your lived experience as well as your, professional
Yeah.
accreditations and so
Mm.
on, right? Which is
Yeah.
which is a great combination.
Mm.
So for you said, when you see someone, whether it could be, a friend, it could be a current client, maybe a potential client, and you can see that they are burned out.
Mm.
Um, what is it that you're looking for? How do you define it? Um, yeah, how do you define it? And how do
Okay.
you explain to that person, here's what I think you might be experiencing, and the name for it is burnout?
Yeah. So I do teach this. And when I do my leadership programs, I include this in there because people often
Mm,
don't know what to look for.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so, the World Health Organization, their definition of burnout is when chronic stress, usually they actually said chronic workplace stress isn't managed. I'll remove
Yes.
the word workplace because we can have it through caring, we can have it through other things, right? But it's the not the management of chronic stress. So if you have the stress cycle, something happens,
Mm.
we get spooked by something, or in this day and age, your boss sends you an email at 5 minutes to 5 in the evening, right? And that
Urgent.
might trigger something within you, right? So
Yeah.
stress is how we, the thing that happens and how we respond to that thing.
Mhm.
We get that happens, we deal with it, panic over, shuts down. When the shutdown doesn't happen, we stay in that loop. So all the things that happen to your body, the physiology, the blood pressure raising, we go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, all of those things that happen to our system, our immune system, right? So you'll start to notice, you start getting sick all the time, right?
Mhm.
Your sleep might go. You might
Mhm.
find it's something that was a treat becomes every day because you need that to make you feel happy, whether that's shopping or sugar or alcohol or other things. You start to self-medicate possibly, or try to regulate yourself in some way. You'll have
Mhm.
weird aches and pains. You're thinking, and this is where it comes up so much in leadership, your ability to think is compromised. You are
Right.
irritable. Your decision making is not so great because you're reactive,
Mhm.
and you're doing it from a state of stress and fear and not from a space of balance.
Mhm.
So when I'm talking to clients, I ask questions about their sleep, their eating, what's going on with you, how are you with your family, what's you
Mm.
teach all the time, right? So some of those things will show up. You get little, as I said, little niggles, things start aching,
Mhm.
things hurt. And also with when you're getting into that space, you can rest and you can sleep and you can sleep and you can sleep, and you still feel that exhaustion. And it does get a little bit of reprieve, but it feels heavy on your system. So it's like,
Mm.
okay, we need to start looking at this. I like to get them before they get there, right? Ideally.
Yes, yes, yes.
But if they are there, it's a case like it's being gentle with yourself again. And sometimes the first thing they need to do is remove themselves from the environments that are triggering and causing this.
Yep.
Right?
Been
And
there.
also,
Been there for sure.
and you know, the we can do it, women. I can do it. I got it. Of course I can do it. Yeah. I teach a little bit of, let's start asking for help, shall we? Right? Because if you come to see me, it means you want support. So who's your support system? What's your structures? What does that look like? And a lot of the stuff you're carrying, is it even yours?
Ooh, can we talk about that? Does that even belong to you? Why did you pick it up, put it back down?
Yeah, give it back to whomever, put it down. Is it mine? So when we start looking at those things, it's like, actually, maybe it's not. And that lovely bit of yes, 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 yes. So who are you saying no to?
Yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I talk about this with clients, talk about it, in writing. It's the whole body yes. If it isn't a whole body yes, it's a no.
Interesting. Yeah. Listen, I'm here taking so many mental notes. I'm like, I have to go back and rewatch this, and I have to read the transcript because you are dropping gem after gem. If it is not a whole body yes, it's a no.
Yeah. And we do this, especially, there's so many different things, I'm in a process myself of the unlearning of so many things.
Tell me more.
Gen X woman, of Ghanaian heritage. I grew up in a certain time and a place, and the expectations of a woman, of a wife, of a mother, of a daughter, and all of these things. And, as a business owner, all of these labels, it's who am I in all of this? Who is Yvette in all of this? So some of that conversation I have to have with myself as well. And it's especially as this time in my life, going into that perimenopause phase, right? It's, all of these thinkings around capacity and what we're carrying and, the identity of what we're stepping into. All of that is very prevalent for me and very prevalent for my clients.
Yes. Girl, I'm gonna have to, when we're doing clips afterwards, I'm like, I don't even know what to choose. I'm like, the clip is the whole episode. Yeah. Just watch the whole thing because wow.
Just watch it all. But when I say about the yes, it is about that, because we often feel obligated and we have to say yes, and it doesn't mean, that you're going to be a selfish person. It's not about being selfish. It's not a bit, but I cannot help anybody if I can't stand up.
Right.
And I learned that the hard way, and if I cater to and support everybody 24/7, how do I take care of me? Because also, who's pouring into me?
Yeah.
And, probably lots of people listening, and yourself, if you've gone through this, you probably pour into everybody. And you keep pouring and you keep pouring and keep pouring. You pour at work, you pour at home, you pour, and then you've got the dregs at the bottom of the cup, right? That's what you've got.
Girls, still nasty dregs, and you don't even want them. Like you don't even want the dregs. The dregs are it's not even like you can use the dregs.
No,
the dregs, they're done for. They're done for.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, how do you pour from overflow? That's, and you can pour from overflow when you are filled. So what do you need to fill you? And this is where it comes back to capacity as well.
Yes. I'm gonna just have to, invite you back right now, because that right there is an episode in itself.
Okay, because we'll pause that there and come back and do another one.
Right, we have to pause and come back to that, because that alone needs could easily use some deeper exploration,
Mm.
because I think it's something a lot of people struggle with, like not even realizing when they are below their optimal their optimal point of fullness, right? And thinking that they have to wait until they're empty to refill,
Mm.
and thinking that they owe everybody a part of what is in their cup.
Yeah.
And it is so prevalent, and I think it's definitely part of what is has driven so many people, and especially people who look like me and you, to the brink of burnout and directly into burnout.
Yeah. And, we, particularly, as you say, women that look like me and you, we have particular experiences. And in
Yes.
terms of, how do we show up, right? So whilst I was raised in the UK, it's very much, and, we are a minority here. Whilst we're a global majority, we're a minority here. We're
Mhm.
still having the kind of conversations of being better than, having to do more than, to show
Mhm.
up, and those kind of conversations already put us under stress,
Yes.
right? And again, there's plenty of stats about the stress that Black women experience, right, in the
Mhm.
workplace, right? There's a
Mhm.
lot of that because there's so many more expectations. And I mean, you listed some of your qualifications, you listed mine. There's a reason we got a lot of bits of paper, right? So,
It
all this
is.
proving,
Excuse me.
proving. I got to a point, it's like, I've got nothing to prove to anybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
There's a part of me. I happen to know a lot of people, including yourself, of course, a lot of people who have doctorates.
Mhm.
And I have the utmost respect. And there is a part of me, because I am who I am, and was
Yep.
raised by my West Indian parents, and I don't need to
Mhm.
explain to you, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I want that piece of paper so bad, girl.
Yeah.
But I did my master's, and it almost ended me, and I was like, how are you gonna turn around now and do a doctorate? And it's not that
Yeah.
I'm not capable. It's
Mm.
just I know how much, and this is what people, we're not going to dive into the people who have actually earned their doctorates, and we leave
Mhm.
that conversation at that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
People who have actually earned their doctorates know how much actual work
Mhm.
goes into it. The years upon years upon years
Yeah.
of granular research, and
Mhm.
you research for years, and then you start writing,
Yeah.
like, and then that goes on. Sometimes for some people, the writing goes on for years as well. Like,
Yeah.
it is not easy.
It's blood,
And
sweat, and tears, and
it
I could do a whole
is.
episode on the whole PhD, right? That whole process and what it did. I will say it started off like the best kind of relationship ever. We got
Mm.
on. We had these little weekends away with each other. It was amazing. And by the end of it, it was lose my number, don't speak to me, across the road. And we're at a point now. I'm like, if I saw you, I'd say hi. Right?
Across
It's
the street.
yeah, across the street. But
Yes.
we're not having coffee together, right? So
Listen, I understand.
that was the journey. But again, I did that for me as well. It was something I did for me, and there
Hmm.
was a lot of stuff going on around that time. But it took me in
Yeah.
total from start to finish 10 years
Oh my
because of
gosh.
all the ill health and everything that came in between. But I was
Yes.
determined to finish.
Yeah.
And one of the things that got me through was the power of visualization.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I visualized myself crossing that stage to shake the hand,
Mm.
to be given my scroll. And when the day
Yes.
finally came, I was the last person to cross the stage.
Mm.
And so it was really poignant, just the echo of
Yes.
my shoes on the floor and, the gown and everything else, because it had
Yes.
been so, so long in coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times I thought, I cannot do this anymore. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you're going to finish. And I did. So if you choose to do it, just know that it's not impossible, but just kind of take your time if you want to go through that process.
Oh. I mean, thank you, thank you. If I were, obviously, if I were in academia,
Mm.
it would already be done. Like yours, it probably would already be done. I'm not in academia, and so it honestly, truly, it would be a vanity project.
Yeah,
That's the honest truth, because like you
that's
said,
right.
which listen, nothing is wrong with a healthy bit of vanity, right? You have to big up yourself and do what is good for you and your mental health.
Yeah.
But part of it is, do I need to keep proving? Do I
Yeah.
need to keep proving? Do I need to keep adding more and more and more
Yeah.
qualifications and certifications? And at what point is it enough? And so
Yeah.
for you, you have your years of you have your lived experience,
Mhm.
and you have your years of professional experience,
Mhm.
and you have your PhD, and obviously that's a terminal degree, so there's degrees before that, right?
Yeah, I've
So
got
you have
so I've got
you have all of them. You
undergrad and
have all
masters.
the degrees,
Yeah.
right? You have them like collecting them like infinity stones, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely.
Yeah, right. But it does it for us. Some of us feel like it's almost like we don't have a choice, because who
Yeah.
is going to take us seriously? And I know we're going to get there too.
Mhm.
I know you're planning to publish a book,
Yes, I
right?
am.
But that's because you have your PhD. That's your next infinity stone. You know,
Yeah.
not saying that it is not grounded in, truth and your work and your purpose and all of
Mm.
that. All of that can be true.
Yep.
And people, again, I say this, I've been saying this, people who look like we do often feel like we need one more thing. What, shoot, you are you I think the phrase is you are an MBE, or
Yes,
have
I have an MBA. Yeah. Yeah.
have
Yeah.
not MBA, MBE,
MBE. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
MBE, have an
Yeah.
MBE,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like
It's
you've been to
so
Buckingham Palace, like what,
I did indeed.
you
I
were,
did indeed.
yes,
And
fabulous fascinator,
yes, I work for my full kente because I honor my heritage wherever I go.
gorgeous. I love
So,
that. Yes, I saw it. Beautiful.
but yeah, but that kind of that idea of, again, the what next and why you do things. So again, I would say before I did those things, because I felt I had to keep doing these different things to prove to people that you could give me the job, or I could be in the room with you. And by the time I got round to doing the PhD, that was about, I wanted it for me. I wanted that for me first,
Yes.
but also because I wanted to contribute to the literature, because I researched second generation Ghanaians, right? And
Right.
I researched class and identity and belonging and all these themes. And I'm like, where are we? We weren't in the
Yes.
literature. So if I don't write about us, who's going to? So that's why I did it.
Yes.
And so everything since then has been, how does this support me? Not anyone else. How does it support me? So the book, and even with the book I was originally going to write is not the one I've written.
Interesting.
So that changed, because I was like, actually, it's not, I'm not saying this disparagingly, like the typical coach book. It's not like my whole methodology in a book kind of thing. It's not that at all. It's much more a manifesto for living.
Oh wow, I love this. So for those of you who are watching now, you can see on the screen. So the upcoming book by Dr. Ankrah is titled Space and Grace: Finding Calm and Compassion in a Fast-Paced World. And it's when is it coming out? When is it being published? 2027, right?
27th, yeah, February, March. The title may change slightly, but that's the essence of it.
That's the essence of it. Right. Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I cannot wait. I can't wait for this, because, I like seeing books written by us about these kinds of topics, because there was a time when we were boxed out of this lane of the publishing world, right? This genre. And so I like seeing more and more authors writing about this.
And there's definitely more and more coming through. And I think collectively we're at the point where we're tired.
Listen,
we're
Woo!
tired. And,
Yes.
this whole being a hamster on that wheel,
Mm-hmm.
I took that, I got off the wheel, I took off the cape. I'm not interested in doing that, because
Mm-hmm.
it nearly killed me doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's like, no, we're good. We need to do something different. We need to kind of adopt different thinking. And the whole kind of the ethos is we need to allow ourselves that space. And it is
Mm-hmm.
incredibly difficult if you are somebody who likes to do the things, all the things, all
All the
the
things.
time. Right? It feels hard to give yourself space. But
Mm-hmm.
without that, you can't do the things you want to do really well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm very purpose driven, and I
Mm-hmm.
like working with people who are. And
Yes.
if you are going to shine, if you're going to be helping people, if you're going to be, changing this world,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot do that depleted.
Mm-hmm. You can't do it depleted,
No,
and you can't need, and neither can you do it confused.
no.
Um, Confused and in chaos and
Nope.
unclear. And I remember earlier in the conversation you talked about um, one of these symptoms of, or yeah, one of these symptoms or effects of burnout being brain fog and
Yep.
being unclear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a whole company, right, called Leading with Clarity. And I am very interested in exploring that with you. What made you decide to come up with that name and that focus and that framework? Because I have been there in the land of burnout. It is, it is a sunken place,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's,
The
it's
land of burnout and the land of brain fog, right? Which, I am postmenopausal. And so the brain fog is a permanent little, like it's right here all the time, on my, on my shoulders, trying to make its presence felt. But yeah, tell us about Leading with Clarity, and yeah, tell us about the framework. What does it stand for, and what did you design it to address?
okay. So I was already working sort of one-to-one and doing that kind of thing. And I was working with organizations, but it was just me.
Yeah.
So Leading with Clarity is more people. So I've got 8 associates. We're all female team.
Yes.
And I love working with my people. They're amazing. And the clarity is, it's a trademark framework. It's a trademark title as well. So
Yeah.
clarity, what it stands for is calm, lasting change, a way forward, realistic plan, implementation,
Mm-hmm.
tools and techniques, and your business and or life transformed. So it works whether we have a corporate framework and we work with an individual framework. And clarity is what kind of people require and also what people seek from us. So it's really important to kind of to bring that in. And as I said, it starts with the inner journey. It's who are you? How do you show up? How do you lead? And so many people start with the tools and the techniques and the strategy, and they forget the calm. They
Mm.
forget to regulate themselves. They forget that without that, we can't go on to anything else, you know? Yeah. So, having that, realistic plan, as we talk about, how are you implementing it if you are, that chicken running around with a head cut off, right? So
It's a
calm
real
is
thing.
where
It's a real thing. Yeah.
it's so calm is where everything begins. And so many leaders think, yeah, I need the right strategy. I need the right tools. Of course you do. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're not okay, you can't deliver on it. You can't
Mm-hmm.
execute, and neither can you lead your people to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
people miss out that step, but it's actually a fundamental. So you do all the other stuff, but you're building out on a house of sand, right? So we start
Mm-hmm.
with strong grounding. We
Mm-hmm.
ground ourselves. So in the same way that you opened with that beautiful, breath,
Mm-hmm.
we have to learn to do that. We take that breath. We learn to ground ourselves. We learn to be with ourselves and understand. We start from here. So I teach them breathwork techniques as well, because
Yes. Yes.
knowing what your system feels like when it's reset,
Mm-hmm.
this is where we take decisions from. This is where we move from. We don't move until we're here.
Girl.
So that's what we did. And, it was a case of somebody wanted me to deliver something. And I was like, well, there's only me. And I was like, well, it doesn't have to be only you. Just pick up the phone and call some people,
Call some people.
Yeah. And I'm blessed that I have an amazing network. I know a lot of brilliant coaches and facilitators, and they're all 20 plus years experience, right? 25 years in some cases. And we've all come from different sectors, from marketing, HR, law, accountancy, public sector, a range of different backgrounds. And we are all facilitators, coaches, leaders, but we all have our own different modalities as well, So I do the EFT stuff. I'm Reiki trained, but I'm not Reiki master. That's there as well.
I was going to ask, because I saw all of this other stuff. I'm like, she feels like a Reiki person, but I'm not seeing it. Okay, that's why.
Well, I don't, it's not on there. There's lots of modalities. Again, I'm a person who loves being curious, and I love learning, and I love learning for the sake of learning. And a lot of times it's kind of, I learned something to support people, or actually to support myself. So the Reiki I learned to support myself. And so I'm level 2, so I'm a practitioner, but I don't always use it with clients necessarily, but it's in the wheelhouse. There's this amazing toolkit that I have, and there's a lot of different things in there.
Oh, that is absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. So you shared with us the framework and what each word stands for. Let me put it back up on the screen here. So calm, lasting change, a way forward, realistic plan, implementation, tools and techniques, your business transformed. So my question for you is, which element or elements of the framework, do leaders tend to underestimate or not want to focus on when you're working with them? Is there one, or are there one or two that stand out maybe?
The calm, that's the first one, because that's the calm is the first one, because it's the one that seems like, oh, what do I need to? Yeah, you do. Right? Yeah, you do. Because especially if you've learned in certain ways in certain environments, strategy, I've got to be strategic. I've got to think strategically. I've got this. But it's like, okay, so we start with calm, and the lasting change. The lasting change is where we talk about the behaviors and habits that are leading you to do the things that you're doing. To getting the results that you're getting, or not getting, as the case may be. And we have to start with the foundational stuff. Who are you? How are you showing up? What's going on with you? And that calm is, I said, the grounded. It's your sleep, it's your health, it's your diet, it's your relationships. All of those things affect everything else.
Because it sounds,
it's the thing that you think.
Yeah, because the thing is that the Western world is very action focused, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Every approach has its pros and cons.
Yeah,
but that often does not leave room for stillness and getting grounded and building from a foundation of peace. Because getting calm sounds like it's not work, and we want to work. We want to be buzzing around running around like chickens with no heads, doing the things, not realizing that the calm is the thing that we have to do in order to help us do the things effectively.
Exactly that. And that's why it matters. Because again, if you're making decisions, if you're making them from reaction, right?
Yes.
You're making them from fear. You're making them from, somebody's got to have an answer. It's got to be me. But where's the thinking time? Where's the allowing of processing? Where's the actually, let me gather this data. Let me sit with it. Let me ask the questions of it. Let me ask the questions of myself before I do any of that. And it's really difficult, especially, I'm talking to clients. It's like, have you even eaten today? When, this meeting schedule, when can you go to the toilet? Right? It's like, you take the humanity out of it. There's some basic needs that to be met. And if you're having back-to-back meetings, when do you do the thinking to process what's going on in the meeting so you can then deliver something.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a very practical level, we need space.
You need it. You need the space. You need the calm. You need the pause. You need the grounding. All of that is necessary. All of it is necessary.
Essential. And if you're not used to being reflective in how you do things, if you're not used to even allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to slow down, to stop, because part of that running around bit is I can't stop.
Yeah.
I have to be doing this. I have to. And that energy, even just when you're doing, you're like, oh, okay, I'm tired watching you. Right?
Right. We all know that one coworker that is just like, you are sucking the energy out of the room, and we're all stressed just looking at you.
Yeah, and you're the leader, and then that's your habit and your behavior. So then what environment then do you then create?
Yeah.
So where do you allow others to do the same? Right. So that's why, especially when you're in positions of leadership and authority, and you are owning that space, to be honest, even if you're not the boss of something, you still have self-leadership, and you can choose how you lead and change the energy around you. You do energy, so that if you are that person, you can make the room a different energy.
Absolutely.
And especially if you're the leader and you've met those people that you're like, okay, I feel good. It's lovely. And then you've met exactly the opposite, and you're like, your stress is my stress. No, because they're the people that poor kind of leadership and management causes burnout in your staff. Right?
Because it starts from the top and trickles down.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
When you aren't clear with your people, when you give them deadlines that are impossible, when you basically model stress 24/7, you create an environment that allows burnout to be the norm for your people.
Yeah. And then leaders like that wonder why maybe turnover is high. Maybe if it's an organization where 360 reviews are done, why their reviews aren't good. They're like, oh, what am I doing wrong? This is what you're doing wrong. At least part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it. And I love those people. Come and talk to me. It's great. Because it's, but that's why I say the leadership starts with yourself, and then modeling it, and then being aware of it. Because once you're aware of your own habits, behaviors, and practices, and what that looks like, and how you deal with stress, and how you show up, that then helps you to start to make changes that have a bigger impact. Every day, especially if you're leading teams, you're impacting a lot of people inside and outside the organization. Because guess what? They go home, and that goes there.
And the stress that you basically place on others is now spreading exponentially, because, like you said, they're going home, they're spreading that stress onto their families, onto their children, whatever. The children are going to school crabby and dysregulated the next day and getting into fights. All this stuff just keeps going on. It just keeps going. Yeah.
By us taking a stand to say, enough, let's do better, let's do differently, let's, in our own individual way, we can start doing something small. And then we can, that's the point of the book, excuse me, to create a movement. I want a cascade of people who are doing this, who this becomes the norm. It becomes the norm not to feel sick going to work on a Sunday night, that kind of.
Yes, the Sunday scaries.
Yeah. So that we're not having that as the norm, that Monday is the worst day. To me, Monday's a Monday. It's a Monday. The Monday is how you choose to make the Monday.
Honestly, I vary with that. I want to be the person that feels that way consistently. I do feel like Monday is just Monday sometimes, but genuinely still nowadays, there are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, like Sunday night, I'm like, whew. Now, I get these Sunday scaries much less frequently now than I did, let's say, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 or 15 years ago. I can definitely remember jobs that I was in where I would start feeling anxious, getting a migraine, like Sunday clockwork, 8 o'clock at night. Like clockwork. Yeah. And so now you work with NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. You're an NLP master coach, right? So how does that help with, does that help? And if so, how does it help with reframing things like these Sunday scaries and so on? How can that help?
So what NLP is really about is the language we use, the thought patterns behind it, and the behaviors that come up. So it's about our self-talk and the beliefs that we hold. And so what the work is about is how we can change those states and how we can change some of that to help how we make decisions, how we show up, and various things like that. And we have habits and shortcuts because they're designed to be there, because who's got time to think about breathing, right?
Yes.
You've not got time. There's certain things that you're just going to do automatically. And even, the example I give is, every day you probably put your clothes on exactly the same way. You put the same leg into the trousers and the next leg, right? You don't think about it. If you was to do it the other way, you'd feel, oh, that feels a bit odd, feels weird. Because it's your habit and it's your shortcut. You don't need to think about that. But if your habits and your shortcuts are leading you to a place that doesn't help you, that's where we've got the issues. So, for those, if you drive, and those of you who are drivers, how many times you got behind the wheel and you've done the grocery list, you've done something else, you've, thought about how you're going to make world peace, and you've got yourself home.
Because the car drove you home.
Yeah, exactly.
Automatically. Right? Yeah.
There's a lot of automatic stuff that we do. But if the program isn't great, then the automatic stuff is still going to be happening, right? So the NLP is about how we shift and change the program, how we write a new story, how we write a new belief, and how we can reframe things and how we speak to ourselves.
Okay, and then how does you're also an EFT practitioner, and that's emotional freedom technique. So how does that fit into the toolkit that you offer your clients, and how does that interact with NLP?
Oh, they work beautifully together. So with EFT, I use that much more therapeutically. You can use it for things like PTSD. You can use it for lots of. I do trauma work. I always say whatever comes in the room, we deal with it. That's how I operate with people. But with EFT, that is about connecting the body as well. So it's a somatic practice. So you tap on different acupressure points, and we often combine it with talk as well to help people shift and move stuff. And it is so beautiful to see people shift in that way. It's so it's like we call it the workhorse, and we've got workhorses, and that kind of does the heavy lifting, that does a lot of clearing, does a lot of removal of things, and then you can fill. And NLP is often, to me, the moving forward and the filling and the next stage of that. But you can use NLP to clear stuff, but I find EFT is more powerful when it comes to something that's quite deep. I do a lot of, as I said, I do a lot of deep work, but also it can be, I'm not good enough. That, right? There's a beautiful way of recoding that in the system using EFT, right? Because it's, it takes a few minutes, but suddenly you see people just shift and you see it leave their body. And that is, so like, right, now we're working with this. Like, okay, so let's move into the next phase. But to get the next, sometimes you need to do a little bit clearing up first.
You have to, yeah. You have to declutter before you redecorate.
Exactly that. And that kind of, so they work very well together. So I'm an advanced practitioner in EFT and master of NLP as well. And there's certain techniques I absolutely adore in NLP as well. And I love being playful with it and kind of, I'll say, so how's that working out for you then? Right. So it's like, so this is the habit. And it's like, okay, so would you like to change it? Okay, so let's work it out. let's work on that. And that the reframe is a classic NLP technique. So, you know, when we sort of saying, you know, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done and no one else is going to do it. So that's the belief, right? And if you keep telling yourself that, what's going to happen? No one else can do it. I have to keep doing it, because if I don't do it, the world ends. And by the way, if you happen to be laid up in bed and can't move for months, which might happen if you keep going on this path, somebody else is going to do it, right? So very much about kind of what are we telling ourselves? How do we speak to ourselves? What is the voice? Who does it sound like? Where's the language coming from around that? Yeah. Right. And this belief that we've now internalized starts to become our behavior. In the same way that we put it in there, we can take it out. So we can definitely move and change around that language. And I think it's a privilege that I get to do what I get to do.
And you know what? Just hearing how you speak about it, you sound so in the middle of your purpose.
Yes.
You know, you sound calm. You sound calm, like you're leading with clarity, which who would have thought, right? But seriously, you sound grounded, and like if you really take joy in being able to help people get unstuck. And I love that. Like you can tell it's about the people. It's about the healing and the purpose and all of that, you know, for you. And I love that for you and for your clients. You know, I really, really do.
It took me a long time to get here, but I'm happy I am here.
Oh, well, I'm happy you're here too. And but alas,
I all the time, like
all the things must come to an end. I have one more question for you before we go, which is, what does having space to exhale mean to you right now?
It is everything right now. You know, life is lifing. There was a lot of challenges, and using all the things that I talk about helps me get through them. So having that space it's fundamental. It is fundamental. Just come back from being on holiday with my child. It was beautiful. As I said, I had that breathwork space. It's being intentional about caring for myself. So that is it for me. And whatever happens, I hold on to that to get me through whatever storm I face. Okay, good.
Ashe and amen to that. I love it. I love it. I love it. And thank you so much, Yvette, for being here and sharing all of your wonderful wisdom with us. Like I said, listen, I want to do clips, but the episode is the clips. So those of you who are, you know, team replay, just watch the whole thing, listen to the whole thing, because there is the gems dropping every single second. All right. So Yvette, thank you so much for being here in your fullness and showing up and really gracing us with so much love and care and wisdom. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me here. And because I love what you do. So it's a joy to be here.
Thank you. We'll chat later, but my little spidey sense is that you're going to be back for sure. So I hope so. Yeah. And so folks, with that, this is the end of today's show. Thank you so much for joining me here on Space to Exhale, the podcast. Goodbye for now. And until next time, remember, you deserve time and space to exhale. Bye. Thank you for joining me on Space to Exhale, the podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, please subscribe, follow the show, and leave a review. Every rating, review, comment, and share helps more people discover these conversations about rest, well-being, healing, and living with greater ease. Join me live every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, or catch the replay wherever you listen to your podcasts. To stay connected between episodes, visit spacetoexhalebook.com, subscribe to the Gentle Breath newsletter, and explore my award-winning book, Space to Exhale. Until next time, remember, you do not have to earn rest. You do not have to justify your joy. You do not have to prove your worth. You are already worthy of love, worthy of care, and worthy of having time and space to exhale. Ashe.